Hey there, how you doing today? It's Chris Wheatley here from Hot Tub University, and thanks for joining us for this our fourth biweekly webinar. So basically, we're going to pick a topic here every week and talk about something else to do with purchasing hot tubs. And this week we are going to do plumbing systems. So we're going to have a quick little maybe 10 to 15 minute chat here on what we look for when we rate a tub for plumbing systems. Because the truth is, when I look around at rating sites and discussion forums and all this stuff, where people are rating products, and the hot tub industry seems to be no different. It doesn't seem to be a real genuine rating of the product. Nobody actually looks at the product. It seems to be more how much advertising dollars you spent. And we don't take advertising dollars from manufacturers or retailers, so we do not, promote products based on that. So when we look at a tub, we look at the real things. We look at how the shells are built, and we look at the types of resins and the grade of the shell and the thickness of the shell, and whether it's a self-supporting shell. And when we look at insulation, we look at R value, we look at cost of insulation. And one of the top four things we look at is the plumbing system on your hot tub. Now, it may seem like a goofy one, because if you're shopping a hot tub, nobody's probably talked to you about plumbing systems, and the reason they haven't is it's all hidden away. Nobody sees any of the plumbing systems. So it's one of these little things in the background that really affects not only the price of your hot tub, but also the longevity of your hot tub. And the reason is simple. A really good, efficient plumbing system is not only going to perform a lot better with a lower power consumption, but it's also going to your tub in general is going to last a lot longer, because if that plumbing system is done correctly, it's not going to leak. And leaks are one thing, because leaks where you get a fair bit of water coming out are fairly easily detectable. You notice them right away and you fix them. Weeps are the worst. So weeps are when we're just leaking a little tiny bit of water and it's not enough for you to notice anything. But what it's doing is it's just destroying your hot tub, because when you get an area that's wet all the time, there's nothing good about that. The insulation gets wet and therefore doesn't insulate. The framing gets wet and either rusts or rots. So it's a really big issue. So what do we look for when we're looking at plumbing systems? Well, the first thing we look at is we look at how the tub is plumbed. Now, most tubs use a manifold pressure system, which means we run a pipe in and we got a bunch of little pipes coming off of it to your jets, and that's pretty standard. There are a couple of guys still doing what we call loop plumbing systems, and this is where you basically have a pipe comes to a jet and then goes to another jet and goes to another jet. And the problem with that system is you get more pressure on your first jets than you do on your later jets. But that's kind of old school. Not a lot of people do that anymore. But what we look for is things like this. So there's a 90-degree angle, and that thing's maybe worth about $2 or $3, a Schedule 40, which is just a thickness of the wall, so it's high pressure. And most guys are using this thing. This is a Sweep 90. It's twice as expensive. Okay, there's twice as much plastic. This is going to run you in the retail market somewhere around $4 or $5. The efficiency of water moving through that pipe compared to moving through that pipe is dramatically different. So we look for little things like that. We look, are they using good sweep angles when they're coming into into corners? We look at things like in the front of the pump. Do we have a nice clean run of good open pipe before we hit the face of the pump? Because we know with fluid dynamics that if we've got any angles or any gate valves or anything too close to the suction end of a pump, we're going to get hammering in that pump head. And not only is that going to reduce the efficiency of that pump pretty dramatically, but it's also going to really reduce the life expectancy of that pump. So we look through the plumbing system, we see how things are plumbed. We look at the attachment points, and this is critical, folks. Where hot tubs leak is not in a pipe itself. So in other words, you got a piece of pipe. You don't care if it's nylon or whether it's braided, hose. Although braided hose is more durable, it's not a failure point. So we almost never see, even in the refurbishment world, we never really see a piece of pipe that's failed somewhere in the center of the pipe, unless it's been chewed by a rodent or it's been frozen or something like that. But where tubs do fail is the connection points. So where we're connecting a pipe to a jet fitting, or where we're connecting a jet fitting to a shell. And this is critical, because the cheap systems out there, they're not really as integral, so they're not as reliable. There's a lot more failure parts on them. And B, the thickness of the actual fittings can vary dramatically. So we look at the weight of a piece. If we got a piece that weighs a certain amount, we know that the thickness and the wall thickness is going to be heavier, and that's going to really affect how long that part lasts. And one of the critical things that we look at is how this piece attaches to the shell. Now, 90% of the hot tubs you're going to see in the market are something like this. They've got a threaded fitting. And what's going to happen is the guy's going to drill a hole in the shell of his hot tub, and he's going to pop this in. He's going to silicone it, and there's a little gasket on here, and he's going to apply silicone here, and another guy's going to go around the backside. And first of all, he's going to grind that face nice and flat so we get a good seat. And this guy's going to push it through. And the guy around back's going to put a retaining ring on it. And he's going to slide that so we get the shell. He's going to silicone it and slide that on. And he's going to put this big nut on, and he's going to tighten it. And the guy in the front's going to hold it, and the guy in the back's going to tighten it, and he's going to put a torque wrench on it. And in a perfect world, he's going to torque it to the right settings so that this stays in the shell and doesn't cause any trouble. Well, the problem here is a lot of things. First of all, there are so many places this can fail. The guy can screw up the silicone a little bit. The guy in the back can screw up the silicone a little bit. And again, the reason silicone guns here, if you ever done silicone, it's not that easy to do or that easy to get it right. The other thing is the torquing of this ring on the back of it. This is a big deal. And the grinding of the back face to make sure this all aligns properly and holds it perfectly flat to the shell. Because if this isn't perfectly flush in the shell, if it's kinked a little bit, it's going to leak. The other thing is, you're supposed to put a torque wrench on this. I can tell you right now that 90% of these in the world are never torqued. And it's not because they're lazy or tired. It's because you can't get a torque wrench on them. If you look at the back of a hot tub where they're plumbing it, there's never room to get a torque wrench onto most of the jets on the back of the tub. So if you got a real experienced plumber that day, he might have the feel and he's got that pretty close to right. But you got a new guy or a guy that's having a bad day, maybe that's not torqued to the right setting. The other problem is if this moves, so if you looked at a jet housing like this with a thread, say it was a thread-in jet, and this is mounted to the shell and it's got that ring holding it on, and somebody's taking the jet in and out every once in a while or adjusting the jet, well, it moves a little bit. As soon as this moves, what it does is it breaks the silicone seal between the shell and the fitting. Most tubs in the world are plumbed like this. Okay, even some of the really good tubs are plumbed like this. And it is an issue. Most of the times when we pull a tub apart at that 8 to 10 or even 5 to 10 year mark, a lot of these shell to jet fittings or shell to suctions in this case, and by the way, it's the same whether it's a suction or a jet or a diverter, they all basically fit onto the shell the same way. The failure rate is really high. And again, these are the weepers. These are the ones that just a little bit of water coming out all the time. And lots of times you won't notice this stuff. But man, this is the stuff that is destroying your hot tub long term. Now, there's a system out that we love. It's our number one system. And it's this. It's from CMP, Custom Molded Products. And it is a compression fit jet. These things have been around probably about 5-7 years in trials. We have seen a dramatic decrease in the amount of leaking from these systems. So first of all, you'll notice that there's a huge rubber grommet, and I can't even really get it off here, but it's thick. It stretches all the way back to here, so it's like that wide. And it's quite beefy. And this is made out of a material that they use in the aerospace industry. It's very high tech. It is what's that damn word when something doesn't react with things? It's inert, I think is the word. Anyway, it doesn't react with chemicals and it doesn't react with other things, so it doesn't break down. Now, the beauty of this thing is it's idiot proof. There's very few things that can fail with this. They precision cut a hole, they fit the jet in, and they compression fit it into the shell. Now, if it's not perfectly straight in the shell, it doesn't matter. It's sealed. If it moves a little bit in the shell, it doesn't matter. It's sealed. And really, there's very little that can go wrong. It doesn't rely on the quality of the guy putting the fitting into the shell. And that's key because this is going to have about a 98% reliability rate. And I just made that number up, but the reality is we've seen almost zero failures with this system. This system, 5 years down the road, man, you talk to a hot tub refurbisher and he's opening up a tub, he'll have 1 or 2 of these on every tub that he's opening up in that 5 to 10 to 15-year-old mark. So it's a big difference. Everybody's going to this, by the way. Loads of guys have got this into trial right now. This is it, man. So one of the big things with us is if a tub's using the CMP compression fit with the ProLock system, I'll talk about ProLock in a second, they're getting some big points on our ratings. Now, by the way, when we do a rating on a hot tub, again, it's not just the shell, not just the plumbing, not just the parts, not just the insulation. We assign numerical values to all these things. So the thickness of this gets a value, whether it's compression fit gets a value, whether they glue and clamp the plumbing line. So that's another part. We talked about the other the other failure rate. So this is one where it connects to the shell. The other one is where your pipe connects to the fitting. And I don't care what kind of pipe you're using. Okay, you can use any kind of pipe. It's going to be reliable. You need to clamp the plumbing line. So we'll glue this. We'll put a pipe on, and then we want a mechanical clamp on there. Look, in any regulated industry, you look at a boat or something. Do you think anybody on a boat that's in the ocean trusts just a glued fitting? No, because if it leaks, the boat sinks. On a hot tub, if it leaks, who cares? You spend $300 to have it fixed, but you care because it's a big deal long term on the reliability of your tub. So why aren't they doing that? Like, why aren't they doing that to the standard that we know it should be done to? Cost. It's a lot cheaper not to clamp the plumbing. Now, the next thing we talk about is we're going to hit on real quick is how a jet actually attaches to a fitting. And this isn't so much how it's going to leak, but these little bastards are expensive. You can spend 15 to 20 bucks on one of these jets, and if they are not designed right, they can be problematic and they can break. And I've seen customers spend $1,500 to rejet a hot tub. So making sure that the jet itself is a good quality jet as well is a big thing. So this is early generation. And if you notice there's these two little tabs here and they flex. Okay. And how that clicks in, it's called a click in jet. And what it does is it clicks in and it locks. But the problem is every time it did, these had to flex. Well, Christ, you go and flex something enough times, and what happens is the little tabs break off, especially when they get a little more brittle with the chlorine. You'll see these in tubs still because guys bought the molds for dirt cheap, and they're putting them in Chinese-made tubs or some of your inexpensive tubs. You're going to see these still being used. The next thing they went to threaded jets. So that was the solve for the click-ins because the click-ins were abysmal, by the way. You find a tub that's got these little tabs on the side of it, run the hell away. It's cheap. It's going to cost you a fortune down the road to fix it. So it's a big deal. The next one was threaded jets, and these are a little bit better, but they had two problems. The one problem was sometimes they would just work their way out and pop out. You go to jump in your tub, 5 of the jets are laying on the floor. You screw them back in. You hope they stay. They come out. The other thing is you should remove your jets every once in a while to clean in behind them. These things, sometimes you can't get them out because they just tend to lock into place and they would never come back out again. So although it was a better fix than these ones, they didn't break nearly as often. We find we still replace a lot of these ones, and usually the reason we replace them is because they won't stay in the hole anymore. The pressure behind it just causes them to eventually come loose. This system that we're dealing with here, with the compression fit jetting, uses a new click lock system, and it's called ProLock. And what it is it's these two tabs right here and here. And they don't actually flex, they're blades. And what they do is there's a little fitting in here that's screwed in. So again, it can be replaced if you ever had a problem. Those two tabs go in there and they just click and they lock in behind here. Super reliable. We have seen this system just be much, much more reliable than almost anything in the market. We know for sure there's probably a good half dozen Master Spas uses this, Artesian's using this. I don't know the full list of everybody that's using it right now, but I also know it's in trial with a bunch of other manufacturers. So you're going to see more and more people go into this. By the way, it's expensive. This is a more expensive system. The weight of the plastic in these is considerably more. And I think it's because it's compression fit. They just had to make them a little bit more robust so they would hold their shape in that compression fitting. But what it's ended up being is just a better quality part. Simple as that. So that's really most of what we wanted to talk about plumbing today. It's hard to evaluate a plumbing system, and we got a calculator out on the market now that's going to be live on our site soon. And what it's going to be is that you're going to be able to put in a brand of tubs. You're going to be able to put in what they do, or we'll have the information populated for you. You'll be able to access this calculator that will just give you a numerical value of a hot tub based on the shell strength, the plumbing efficiency system, the quality of the plumbing system, the insulation, the quality of the shell, the quality of the parts, how readily available the parts are, the efficiency of the plumbing system. So it's going to have all that for you. And this is going to be like some real data instead of this crazy world where everyone just goes, la, 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 la. We'll be able to give you some real information. So just get a drink here in 1 sec. All right. So plumbing systems on hot tubs, vitally important, super hard to get the information. Part of the reason our private buyer service is so much worth your time is this kind of detail. Guys, we know what's going on with hot tubs on this end of the marketplace. We know what's going on in the factories. We know what parts people are using. We can help you avoid those pitfalls in some of those cheaper products. So we're gonna go to the comments section here. If anyone's got any questions today, we'll talk through some of them. And I see Torsten Grinnell. So what brands are using these new fittings? We're gonna actually post a listing of guys that are using the new CMP stuff. Again, off the top of my head, I know for sure Artesian, I know for sure Master, and I'm just drawing a blank right now. I know there's like 3 or 4 other guys that are using it, and I know there's about half a dozen that are in trials with it right now. And I will assume they're going to go with it because I've seen the reliability on the other systems, and these just so far seem to be a lot better. Danielle Dine asked, "What kind of hot tub do you have?" I do not have a hot tub right now, so I typically rotate hot tubs out. I try and rotate hot tubs out every couple of months and put something new in my yard so I can jump in it and try it out and tear it apart and have a look at it. Right now, I'm between hot tubs, so I'm not sure what I'm getting yet. Right now, the problem is getting hold of hot tubs. So I got a few people digging around for me. I'm trying to get my hands on the hot springs. I'm trying to get my hands on a jacuzzi to put them out in the yard and see what we can do with them. So that's about it, man. Usually we got a lot more questions. This is going to be an easy night for me here. We're only 15 minutes in, and I don't have anybody asking any questions. So I don't know what to do right now. I could sing. La, 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 la. No, I'm kidding. So, plumbing systems we talked about, and that was a main focus for tonight. Thank you, Danielle, coming in and saving me. Oh, thank you, folks. Now I don't feel so bad and lonely. Daniel, what's been your favorite tub in the past? So I got a lot of favorite tubs, and I think we have to break that down. I really have one specific thing I'm looking for in a hot tub, and that's massage. Broke a lot of my bones and a lot of my joints as a meathead mountain biking and all kinds of that adrenaline stuff. So I am looking for massage therapy more than anything in a hot tub. Twilight Series, in my opinion, is probably the best massage tub in the world. And by the way, when we talk about the quality of massage in a hot tub, it's the jets, and it's not the number of jets, guys. It's the size of the jet. Size matters when it comes to massage therapy in a hot tub. These are high flow therapy massage jets. The bigger ones like this, and some of them will spin and rotate, and some of them will pulsate. But the difference between a big 5-inch jet like that is it flows a pile more water than the little baby jet. So one of the gimmicks you'll see when you're shopping a hot tub is it'll have all 60 jets. But man, you look at it, most of them are little dinky $10 cheapo jets. Now the problem with those little jets is they only put out a tiny little stream of water. So when you put your hand in front of it, the salesman goes, "Oh, feel the pressure on that jet." You stick your hand in, man, it's kicking because you got such a small amount of water coming out, and there's such high pressure that when it hits your hand, you're like, "Whoa, geez." And it really does feel like it's doing a lot. The reality is those small jets, because we've got no volume of water, the energy dissipates super quickly. So it doesn't actually move the whole muscle mass. So you get that up in your shoulder or something, it's actually going to feel like it's doing a lot, but because it's not moving that whole muscle mass, we're really not getting that muscle tension release long term. So you sit in front of one of the high flow therapy jets, and you'll notice that they don't feel as aggressive. A lot of times, in fact, customers will go, "Man, that doesn't feel anywhere near as powerful as that cheapo tub over there." But if you sit in front of those jets for a long time, so you sit in front of them on every 3 days or something over the course of a week, at the end of the week, you will notice a really distinct difference in the muscle tension. And really, that's what we're looking for in a massage tub. We're looking for something that is breaking that muscle up and keeping it soft, and so it's not all locked and tensed up. Those little dinky jets, you're not going to notice that at the end of the week. You're going to feel the same. You're going to notice when you jump in, it feels good, but you're not going to get any long-term gain from it. So one of the reasons Twilight ranks one of my highest tubs, simple. It's got the most of the high flow therapy jets, especially neck and shoulder. It's got those big 3.5-inch jets. And it's one of the only tubs out there that's got A, the big 3.5-inch neck jets, B, loads of the big high flow jets, and C, the ability to divert an entire pump to that one main captain's chair. Now, what are my favorite tubs on? If it wasn't for massage, there's loads of them, because then what we're looking for is space and usability. And frankly, I really like the swim spas. I'm spending more time in swimmers than I am in hot tubs nowadays, mainly because they're new and you can swim around in them. But yeah, there's loads of good ones out there. Jacuzzi builds some good stuff. Master builds some good stuff. Coast builds some good stuff, although I haven't been able to see their factory because of COVID yet. Sundance is building some good stuff. So there's a lot of brands out there, and we can help you navigate that. Again, get onto our private buyer service on the site, or our private consultation. We can look at your local market. We'll deal with local guys right in your market, and we'll cut you a good deal with them to make sure you save some money and, avoid the nightmare stuff. How often should you replace jets? When they break. So, if you've got a tub that's got these little clicky things on the side of it, and again, it's predominant on a lot of the Chinese tubs. I noticed them on the Canadian spa companies last time I saw them, and a few other brands. When they break and they won't stay in the hole, replace the jet. Generally, you take your jets out once a year, just clean the socket out and put them back in, but only replace them when they break. That's about it. Love to hear your evaluation of a hot spring. So hot springs is okay. So hot springs, first of all, isn't one of the nightmare brands. Like it's not one of these pieces of junk you're going to put in your backyard. It's going to disintegrate and end up in a landfill. But it's also not in my recommended brands, and that's mainly because of the proprietary parts systems. So proprietary parts was a gimmick that started with the appliance industry. And if you remember back in the day when your mom and dad had that washer and dryer, and they probably had it your entire life. People didn't replace washers and dryers. They lasted for 25, 30 years. In fact, they're still out there working in some cases. Why? Because they all had readily available, interchangeable, good quality parts. Now, the proprietary parts scam was when some asshole decided, usually a bean counter in the accounting department, figured out a new revenue stream. And that new revenue stream was to make a part that only fit their product. So you could never buy it anywhere but through them. Then what happens is you design planned obsolescence into that part. In other words, you're not making that part because you're a super company making an awesome part. You're doing it to cut the cost of the initial production, and you're doing it primarily to trap that consumer and take away their freedom to buy that part anywhere and their right to repair. So I am dead set against proprietary parts. And if you look online, man, not too many people are overly thrilled with that brand. It's got a high failure rate, and you pay ridiculous money for the replacement parts. I've seen that little circ pump on Alibaba for like $30, and I think they're $200 because again, they just don't fit standard fittings in a lot of cases. Same with their heating system. It had a no-fault heater for years that was guaranteed, for life. I think it was. It failed all the time, but it was never covered under warranty because it was actually the heater didn't fail. It was like the pressure sensor switch, which was integrated into the heater. So you had to replace the heater anyway. Or it was the heater relay board on the circuit board that was, I don't know if it was designed to fail or not, but sure failed all the time. So generally, here's my deal with hot springs. Performance wise, look at the jetting in it. A couple high flow therapy jets, that goofy little flippy jet, which isn't an expensive thing to build. Generally, the performance is kind of middle of the road. It's full of proprietary parts. Shells are okay. I mean, they rate decently well on our radar, but in the maybe 50, 60% mark. Why is it so expensive? Not shouldn't be really. It's just the marketing and everything else that's driven that price up. I think in the reality is it's a middle of the road tub. If you got a good local dealer, you can have a good experience with it. But expect to pay more than it's worth out of the gate, and expect to pay a lot to keep it in the field because of the proprietary parts. So not a fan. Switch to a good system. I'll be a fan. What's the best base for a hot tub? So under a hot tub, patio stone, man. I think in honesty, that is the best base you can put under a hot tub. Now, some people say patio stones in cold climates will heave because of the freeze thaw cycles. And traditionally, that's been a problem. But under a hot tub, never freezes. So it's not something that usually happens under a hot tub. If you properly prep the ground, and that just means stripping off your fluffy soil, putting some crusher dust in there, leveling it, tamping it, dropping patio stones on it. In my opinion, that's the best base in the world. And then you don't really care what's manufactured on the bottom of your hot tub because your hot tub's sitting on 2-inch concrete then, so you're not getting anything coming up from underneath it. Patio stone base number one, you can put them up on a deck if it's properly structured. Although that does expose the bottom of the tub to air, and that's one more place where you're going to lose a lot of energy. So if you're going to do that, I recommend insulating under the deck or insulating under the tub, maybe with some 2-inch Cellophort or that high density foam sheeting. Concrete, but it's overkill. And if you're doing concrete, be super careful. You hire a guy to pour concrete, and they typically pour them on a grade so that the rain runs off them. And I've seen it a number of times, man. We put a swim spa in this guy's backyard one day, and it was graded. And it looked stupid. You fill it up with the water, and one side was like this far from the top, and the other one was almost at the top. So make sure if you're doing concrete, they do not grade. Tell me you need dead flat because it's a hot tub. It seems obvious, but trust me, it happens all the time. Okay, that was Keith Shaw. Thanks, Keith. Appreciate it. Charlie, hi. And not a plumbing question per se, but private buyer service. All right, I've been to an artesian showroom and have a quote, but I think it's high. Can you help me get this Right. So yeah, in most cases we can. Typically, we have good deals with local retailers right across the U.S. now because we're going to buy. We originally thought about 2,000 tubs this year, but we're up in that to probably 2,500, maybe 3,000 tubs, because private buyers is insanely popular right now. And why wouldn't it be? You get professionals that know everything about the industry working for you instead of working for the person you're buying the tub from. It's kind of a no-brainer. Very rare can we not save you the full cost of the whole service, which is 250 US. Usually we save that or more off the price of a hot tub. Retailers love us, by the way, because we don't take commissions and we don't take referral fees. Remember this: when you buy from a retail showroom, you're spending 7 to 10% commission. That's what guys are making, right? So we typically have arrangements with the owners of the company, and all we do is we say, hey, take some of that commission, kick it back to our customers. It's a good service. It works really, really well, and I'd be surprised if I couldn't. But Charlie, if you hit us up on the comment section of the website and just give us some more details. By the way, those comments don't come live till we see them anyway. So just give us more details of where you are, what the price is, what the dealer is. We'll tell you right away if we can save you some money. And if it's a great deal, we'll just say, no, go buy it. And if we can beat it, we'll let you know. Already have a quote, better price. It's a little messy the further down the road you've gone, Charlie. If you've really spent a lot of time with a sales guy, that sales guy is owed commission. That's how they make their money. And nothing wrong with sales guys. Don't get me wrong. Loads of really good honest sales guys out there. There's loads of sharks too. But you know what? If a salesman spent a lot of time with you and written up a quote and everything, it's a little trickier for us. But oftentimes we can still hit that retailer up, and because we buy so many tubs, sometimes they'll cut us a little break on those deals. Just to keep us happy, so we keep sending them deals. So again, hit us up on the site. We'll let you know if it's worth your while. Torsten, Wilroy and Bosch new piping technology, any good? Wouldn't recommend buying that brand in a very cold climates. Okay, so I'm not 100% sure what the Wilroy and Bosch is. I see lots of stuff that comes out that's new technology that really isn't. So nylon wound torsion hose, which is the hose that's got that big coarse nylon braid, spiral all the way through it, or some of them are braided, and the idea is that these are gonna one of the names I hear is Sure Grip, and the idea is you're not gonna have to clamp your plumbing because it's gonna grip really good. And bullshit, man, we just never see those systems lasting as good as a clamp on the plumbing. So again, I would not buy any substitute for clamps. There's no other industry in the world that lets you not clamp integral plumbing. Look at your car; it's all clamped. Look at a boat. Look at anything that matters that is regulated. It's clamped, and that's because it doesn't last if you don't clamp it. So simple as that. So those the 8.25. I'm not sure about the big monster jets, whether they would be the old system or the new system. I know that they are just coming out with diverter valves now that are compression fit. They weren't as critical because typically those fittings are above the water line. I would think that the large ones are compression fit, but I don't know the answer for sure on that one. If they're available, they would be. If they're not available, well, they're not. But I'll try and find out that for you. Stacy Travis, you have a Twilight Series noticed slowly losing water, more than just from use. There's slight water staying on the ground under the corner of the filter side. Yeah, get it addressed right away. It could be rodents. You might have got something in there that chewed through a line or something like that, depending on how old the tub is. Again, it's we see leaks on every brand of tub from time to time. We don't see a lot of them on artisans and masters and guys that are using the compression fit and clamping the plumbing. But hey, mistakes can happen. So if it's a brand new tub, get your dealer out there. If it's an older tub, see if you got a rodent issue. The basic idea here is pop the side of the tub off, pull the wet foam out, use a shot vac and just suck the wet foam out. Use your fingers, pull it all out. And in the middle of the wet spot's usually the leak. See if you can find the leak. Either that or get a guy out to have a look at it. But definitely address it. Tubs that are leaking are destroying themselves. The water in that area is really going to cause you problems down the road. Torsten, again, any reason to use private buyer service if you live in Scandinavia? Wow, there's a new one for me, dude. So I have appraised a few customers for Scandinavia on advice systems, but I've never done a private buyer service there. But we'll tackle it for you, man. I know lots of dealers out there, so I can't see why we wouldn't be able to. I'll give you a guarantee out there just as a dry run. If we can't save you the money, we'll refund it for you. But we'd like to take a run at that. We buy them in Spain, Germany, France, the UK, so I can't see it being much different unless we hit a language barrier, but even then lots of times we can get stuff figured Um, and Stacy, off topic, the last set of filters we used, I've noticed the blue plastic rubber on the end is melting. Okay, so if you are melting the end of your filter using trichlor, which is those tablets, this also could relate back to the problem you're having with the leak. Chlorine tablets are trichlor. They're super popular because you can put them in a floating dispenser. It's the only way you can use chlorine in a floating dispenser. Otherwise, you have granules and you got to dump them in the tub. The trichlor tablets are extremely aggressive. Okay, they bleach out all the black pieces and they break down the plastics. And if you're putting it like your little so first of all, those tablets should never go right in the tub or right in the filter area. They should always go in a floating dispenser. And if you've got those set up right so that they're dispensing really low, they're okay. They work fine. But if you got high concentrations of trichlor, especially if you got your floating dispenser or your dispenser right in your filter area, that will chew the shit out of the top of those filters. And that's usually what that is. So take a look at what you're using from a sanitizer standpoint. You can also cut down the amount of trichlor or dichlor that you need in the tub by using the additives. So again, Spa Marvel is a big one that we really like. You can get it on our site. You can get it anywhere. It's fantastic. It really works to protect the plastic. It also cuts the chlorine levels down by 2-3 times what it would normally be. So that's usually a big plus for you. So there we are, half an hour in, which is just about the perfect time for a Sunday afternoon. And I don't see any other questions coming up here, folks. So we're going to make this a short one. We'll be here every second Sunday, so we'll pick a topic. Oh yeah, I see some questions. All right, give me a minute. we'll pick a topic every week, and then we'll address an issue. So we'll usually talk about one issue, and then we'll do the questions thing. So we got Keith here. Says advice for most economical way to run a hot tub: keep temperatures low or switch it off when not in use. So unless you're going away for a couple of weeks or something, it is not worth your while to lower the temperature on a hot tub. Keep it at running temperature. Keep the cover on it. They use very little energy when they're just ticking over and cleaning themselves. Mostly what the energy loss is when you open the cover and all that heat escapes out of the tub. So basically usage is a lot of the cost. It is more efficient for sure to maintain the temperature than to yo-yo it and try and bring it up every time you want to use it. Not to mention the fact it takes quite a while to warm the tub back up. So yeah, definitely keep it at running temperature. And Corey, which is better hot tub buy? Jacuzzi J375 at $19,995 or 8.2 for $16,995. So both are good tubs. I like Jacuzzis and I like Masters. They both use Balboa heating and control systems. They both glue and clamp their plumbing. They both good shelves. The jet package on the 375 is considerably below the jet package on the Twilight. So do this. Look at the top shot picture of the two tubs. The little jets are $10. Count them, add it up. The mid-size 3-inch jets are about $25, $30. The big ones are $50, $55, and those big monster jets in the bottom with the big diverter control system are about a $500 package. If you add up the jet package on the 8.2, it's probably a $2,500 jet package, something like that. That Jacuzzi 375, I'd be surprised if it was a $1,200 jet package. Both great tubs. Massage performance is no comparison. I think that Jacuzzi has about 4 or 6 of the large high flow therapy massage jets. The rest of the small jets, the neck jet system isn't great. The foot jet system isn't great. The 8.25 is a killer. I think it's probably one of the better massage tubs out there. So I would definitely say in that case that one. Joseph, what causes a single jet not to work? So typically, if you've got one jet out of the system that's not working, the hose is kinked. Doesn't happen very often, but sometimes when they're plumbing, especially if it's a yard that doesn't use prefabricated plumb lines. So what I mean by that is if you look at a good manufacturer who knows what the hell they're doing, they'll have the manifold with all the pipes all pre-measured, all glued and clamped with all the jet heads on it. And then they'll just pop that system into the tub. I guess they won't do jet heads because they got to do that after it goes through the shell. But all that'll be preset. If you got a guy that's sitting there and plumbing each one by hand, sometimes if he's running at the end of his hose reel, he might just he doesn't have quite enough hose and he just bends it. And if you get a kink in that hose, that can cause it. The first thing I would do is take the jet out itself. There might just be something stuck in the back of the jet. So pop the jet out, clean it out, make sure it's nothing simple. If you got no flow coming out of that head itself, it's either something stuck in the manifold or it's the hose line pinched. You can take a garden hose, stick it in that fitting, and try and blow water back through the system when the pump's shut off. If it's something jammed in there, sometimes that'll clear it, but more likely than not, you have to take the side of the tub off, find that pipe. It's probably going to be kinked, and just replace that little pump, that little pipe. Um, Okay. Good afternoon. Wait, I missed one here. Right. Okay. What's your opinion? Jacuzzi 385 and Sundance 780 Chelsea. I look at both very similar tubs, both from the same manufacturer. I think Sundance and Jacuzzi in general are pretty good. I haven't looked at the 780 from Sundance, so again, from all standpoints, I wouldn't worry about, they both got their own little proprietary jet system, but whatever. It's the old school, thread on jet system, so it is what it is. I would think they're going to be fairly similar again if they're the similar size and if they're similar jet package. So again, look at the jetting. If you post that up on our discussion forum, we'll try and get you a better answer. I'd actually have to open the page and have a look at the tubs and do you a comparison. And I can't do that on the live stream because everyone would be sitting there going, so anyways, post that up on the thing. We'll try and find out the specifics for that for you. And Franken, good afternoon. How do you find out the real prices for a hot tub? Unlike cars that has an MSRP, if you get different dealers, you get different prices. So, I find that car MSRPs are no more useful than hot tub MSRPs because they're all bullshit. Simple as that. You walk into a car dealership, who pays MSRP, right? We got a deal. You're going to get employee pricing discounts today. Blah, 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 blah. Some salesman takes you up, beats you up, and then the next thing you own a car. Same in the hot tub world. The MSRPs are ridiculous. You look at tubs. I've never seen a brand out there with a reasonable MSRP. I've seen junk out there that sells for $7,000 that says their MSRP is $16,000. It's ridiculous. So you don't really have a hope in hell. Simple as that. Part of the reason people buy our private buyer service is we know what tubs sell for in markets. So it's more about understanding what a tub's value is for your market. And it does change regionally, and it changes both by whether we've got a big wholesaler in the area, whether we got independent service guys that are local to you that can take care of you, how far away we are from the factory, and the brand of tubs itself. It also has a lot to do with availability in that market. We got some markets where, all of the dealers will have tubs because they were smart, and right at the very beginning, they ordered loads of tubs. So they got stuff trickling in that's available. We got some markets that are dry. We can't get a tub for love nor money. So the pricing is a lot higher, especially for available units. It's very regional. Look, I'm not kidding you, man. There's almost no time on private buyer service we don't save you the entire cost of the private buyer service or more. Lots of times, 3, 4, 5 times as much. Don't count on that. Count on this. Count on breaking even. Count on hiring us for $250, saving at least $250 off your purchase, and having people that know what the hell they're doing guide you through the whole process with no agenda. Because you got to understand, when you've hired me on a private buyer service, I don't give a shit what you buy. Not from a monetary standpoint, because you've already paid me. It's the difference between a sales guy. When you're dealing with a sales guy in a store, he didn't get paid till you buy the tub. So we can look at this and we can be objective because we don't care. You can buy whatever tub you want. We are going to try and negotiate a deal. And we're going to try and help you avoid the nonsense. But man, we've bought brands I don't like for clients because they've said, no, I don't give a shit. That's the tub I want. So no matter what you're doing, the private buyer service is a no-brainer. Like I said, it's almost always free. It's very rare that it ends up that in fact, most customers, if we don't save you at least the $250, we break it, we refund it back to a basic $100 consult fee. And trust me, the $100 consult fee doesn't even pay for our hours that we put into these things. So it's always a good deal for you. Okay, so prices for a hot tub, and then Torsten Granny again. Insulation is important in the north. What brand would you recommend when it stands half the year surrounded by meters of snow? So our value. All the regulated industries. So if you're in Canada, for instance, you cannot get a permit to buy a house unless the insulation measures R25 minimum. Our value is simply the ability of the insulation system to contain heat. Okay. You got guys out there selling tubs with R8, 2 inches of spray foam, and a story about magic fairies that make free heat in the big empty space between the shell and where the insulation should be. Dude, the only reason people don't fill the cavity up with the good expanded foam that doesn't harden so you can still fix leaks and everything is cost. And when you go to a guy and he starts going, "Oh, you don't want a full foam tub? Look, it's rock solid. The foam's like a rock. You'll never get out." This bullshit. They're scamming you. Everybody knows. Nobody. Well, not nobody. There are Hot Springs actually apparently still uses high density foam to support their shell on their high end. Batshit crazy. And I've seen some of the cheap Chinese brands still doing it, but most guys that are filling the cavity with insulation are using a soft foam that never hardens. The advantage of those soft foams, by the way, the open celled foams over the closed cell foams, is they don't go through thermal drift. And what that means is if we have a high density foam that we're putting into a system, we use a special gas that's encapsulated in the little bubbles of the foam that artificially increases the R value. Over time, that gas escapes out of those bubbles and is replaced by normal air. Also, what happens is those foams tend to cure, and as they cure older and older and older, they get brittle, and then the walls start breaking down between the millions of little bubbles, and that ends up with big air spaces, which again diminishes the R value. High density foams can lose like a lot, like over 5 years, they can lose 60-70% of their R value. Whereas open celled foams, although when they first blow them in, aren't quite as high as R value as a closed cell foam, after 5 years, they're higher because they retain like 99% of their efficiency. They don't go through that process of thermal drift that high density foams go through. So the answer to your question is full foam hot tubs. It's a no-brainer. And the front area, they'll usually have that hollowed out a little bit, and then the heat from those motors will get taken in by the intakes on the top, usually either the ozone system or the Venturis, and injected right back into the water stream. So we find, guys that are using perimeter systems that aren't filling it will always talk about, trapping that motor heat in there, reclaiming the motor heat. You know what? Every tub, unless it's a stupid beachcomber with the pumps outside of the tub, any tub with an integrated pump system is going to be pretty good at reclaiming motor heat. So it's all about the R value. So look for full foam tubs. Frankly, that's really where you're going to get your best. By the way, Jacuzzi, Sundance, Master, Artesian, I think Coast. But again, I hear a rumor that Coast does full closed cell foam in their shell as well. But we haven't been able to get in the factory yet, so I can't say that for sure. Bob, hey Chris, experience with awesome pipe cleaner, best shit in the world. In fact, it's just coming live on my site very soon. You'll be able to buy it on there. I only sell stuff on my site if it's awesome. Awesome. There you go. No, I only sell really good stuff on my site. I will not sell it if I won't use it myself. Simple as that. Don't give me how much money you offer me. If you're selling some crappy product, it ain't going on my site. But if you're selling good shit, it's on my site. And if you buy something on my site and you're not happy with it, I'll refund it. Simple as that. But awesome is awesome. It is the best pipe cleaner in the world. The shit that comes out of your tub is going to blow your mind. But yeah, it definitely works. Does a two-speed main jet function just as well as a dedicated circulation pump? Okay, so I don't like circulation pumps, and here's why. The little circulation pumps are small little pumps that run 24 hours a day. The sales pitch is that your water's going to be cleaner because it's always filtering. Okay, what they don't tell you is that the volume of water those little pumps run is about the same as what the big two-speed pump would run in about 2 hours to 4 hours. So the pump's running all the time. The idea is this little tiny pump's going to be really efficient because it's just a little tiny pump, but it's running 24 hours a day. So the damn things fail all the time. By the time you take your replacement cost to replace that burned out little circ pump all the time, forget it. The big two-speed pumps are way more efficient overall, like cost to run when you take into account replacing the actual pump itself. They also flow a shitload more water. So we can flow what that circ pump does in 24 hours, a two-speed pump can do in about 4 hours, let's say on average. So if you got a little circ pump and you have a big party, you're stuck. It's going to go tick, 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 and it's going to take 4 days or whatever to clean the water back up. And I mean, big messy party. The other pump, you could turn it on to 24 hours. You could filter what that little circ pump does in 4 or 5 days. You could do in a day. So I think, especially if you got kids, especially if you're entertaining, there's no two ways about it. You can filter a lot more water with a two-speed pump than you can with a circ pump. I don't think circ pumps are good for anything except for service guys to make money replacing circ pumps down the road. So I'm not a big fan of them, never have been. I much prefer a two-speed high-flow filtration system than a circulator pump. Do most hot tubs have pressurized treated wood as the base? Notice the jacuzzi is plastic surrounding the wood. I wonder if that makes a difference in terms of rotting critters. Thanks. So the framing of a hot tub, I'm not really too fussed about. People think that that's outside like your deck. It's not. It's in behind, vinyl siding. So really, it's more like the wood in your wall of your house than anything else. And it is protected. And also, it's super dry inside a hot tub unless it's leaking, because the heat generated from those motors, those electric motors, they generate like 40 degrees. It is bone dry. It's very, very arid in behind a hot tub skirt. The only time that we see the base of a hot tub, rotting or rusting, is if there's moisture trapped in there. So if you've installed it in a low-lying area that's always got water around it, well, it's a bad install. You should have raised that up a little bit so the water sheds away from your hot tub. The other thing is sometimes those ABS bottom pans, if they don't have holes drilled in them, if you get a little bit of a leak, the leak can settle into the bottom of those things and can trap them there, and then we can get a lot more aggressive rot and problems. So, and I've never been really I like a good wood framing. I do like a little bit of treatment on the very bottom rails. So either a good antimicrobial paint or a womanized pressure treated lumber. But really, for the main framing of the tub, I don't really care. I've never seen the side of a tub rotted out unless it's like a super old tub or it was buried in a deck or something, where it had no airflow. So I'm not really fussed either way. I think it's. I don't think it's a real big deal whether it's pressure treated or not for the most part. And by the way, again, this comes back to leaks. What's the most important thing for that question? Having a tub that doesn't leak, having good compression fit jet system, having good glued and clamped plumbing. Because if you've got a tub that's not leaking, the whole question goes away because you don't have moisture in behind that skirt, and that's key. That's more important than any of the other things. Okay, so Joe Jimmy, I made it. By the way, I'm still hating the Bullfrog M series. That top control panel just doesn't work if it's hot or wet. It's the most annoying and tested thing ever. So Gecko control system on the Bullfrog. I don't mind Bullfrog, by the way. It's not a bad brand. I'm not real fan of their ABS plastic shell. There's better quality shells out there. I'm also not a big fan of that Gecko electronic control and heating system. I really like Balboa, man. I've just never been able to find a system that holds up as well. And I'm not saying Balboa is perfect. They have failure rates as well, but man, we find the failure rate a lot less than we find it on almost any other product. Sorry you're having problems with that one, dude. I don't know what the fix is for it. At some point in time, if the system fails, retrofit it. Here's one of the nice things. If you got a tub, and by the way, Gecko's not the end of the world. It's still, at least OEM. At least you can get parts on the open market, and it's not locked up proprietary like the Invensa stuff they're using on the hot springs or the Arctic Spa system or something like that. So if it ever does go and you need to replace the system, just retrofit it to a Balboa. The fittings are usually identical. You pop the one pack out, pop the new pack in, drop the new topside in, and away you go. Awesome is great. Yeah, that's Joe Jimmy again. Yeah, no, it is super great. It always freaks me out when I put it in the tub because just the amount of stuff that comes out of the lines blows me away. In all the years I've been in hot tubs, I've never seen anything work quite as well. Dealers are saying you have to wait 9 months to 12 months plus for jacuzzi and master spas in Long Island. Do you have to worry if the dealer goes bankrupt and you get stuck losing your deposit? Nobody in the hot tub world is going bankrupt this year. They are all making stacks of cash. Sales are up 300%. Margins are up. Listen, nobody's in risk of going bankrupt in the hot tub world right now. It's probably the busiest and happiest hot tub guys have been in 20 years. That being said, they're also frazzled, man. It's brutal out there right now. We do a shitload of business on Long Island, and I think jacuzzis are probably out past 12 months. I think their production time, again, the dealer might have something in the pipe, but actual production time, I think they're pushing, I think last I heard was 14 or something. I think Master's a little shorter than 12 months. I think last time I heard they were pushing around 10. So is what it is, man. And by the way, if you want to spend the money, we can get you a tub fast in that area. You just got to spend bread because the truth is the ones that are available for fast delivery are going for a premium. But if you want to, private buyers, some of the things we do on there is just get you a tub. So if you want to spend the money and you don't care about spending another couple of grand, we can usually find you something fast. All right, Franken234, what's your website URL? www.hottubuniversity.com. Sorry about that. Most of my traffic comes through there, so I always assume people know it. Yeah, Hot Tub University, and anyway, that's where it is. Joe Jimmy, Bullfrog is a good product, but the Knee M series is horrible. I think my dealer could put a bell control in mine. Also, having amazing water quality after Awesome and Dichlor. Yeah, for sure. The Awesome makes a big difference. If you're having some water quality issues, put that Awesome in to clean the system back out. And that's kind of like just stripping everything back down to ground zero. Every year you should do it. And again, it's going to be available on my site soon. So buy it from my site. It helps me put my kids through school. Yes, he probably could retrofit it to a Balboa if you're having lots of trouble with it. I'd be interested in hearing from you too. Why don't you drop me an email? It's chris@hottubuniversity.com, and drop me an email on that one. I'd like to hear what's going on with the system. Oh, Kevin Zelos. Okay. How you doing? Kevin's my buddy in Spain. He's staying up late and probably drinking beer, the scoundrel, while I sit here answering questions. So not happy with you, Kevin Zelos, but good to see you, brother. Jimmy Joe, when will I know it's time to change my water? Okay, so here's the deal. When you can't balance your alkalinity and pH anymore, and it's just the pH is all over the place, and you're struggling, and your water won't stay clean, it's time to drain your tub and refill it. Simple as that. Typically, on a regular chlorine system or on a saltwater tub or any of that kind of stuff, you're 3 to 4 months. Products like Awesome or products like Spa Marvel or Aqua Finesse will typically take you out to 9 months to a year between water changes. And that's about the answer to that one. Yeah. So when you can't balance your water chemistry anymore, change the water out. So that's about it for today, folks. I appreciate you coming out to say hi. Again, we'll be live in 2 weeks from today. Same bat time, same bat channel. In the meantime, happy hot tubbing. Have a great day. Chris Wheatley, Hot Tub University.